Hey your prodigies, I initially wanted this to be a continuation of my Let's Play series on Dark Deception, but that didn't really work out that well. I kept on dying and my game kept freezing, so I decided instead to make this more of a tutorial video. So if you're struggling with Dark Deception Chapter 2 or just want to see what's at the end of it, then keep watching this video. Now what I'm going to do is cover the labyrinth and the Manor segments of Dark Deception Chapter 2. In these levels, we are faced against the Gold Walkers. These guys are statues who walk towards you whenever you don't face them. It's kind of like Boo from Mario or SCP-173 if you're familiar with those series. My main strategy for defeating the labyrinth or the maze area of Chapter 2 is to collect the shards around the outer area of the maze first and then work my way inwards slowly. That way, when the Gold Walkers actually come to get you, you can trap them in a certain area by walking backwards. Now you've also got to be careful because there are traps around there. There are spike traps that activate every so often. But don't worry because you'll be able to hear them activate, so all you have to do is walk around the map very cautiously and listen out for that activation noise. When you hear it, you know you're safe to move because you're actually able to walk into the spikes without them damaging you, but you cannot walk on top of the spikes as they activate. So after they activate, you can just walk around and make sure you make your way away from those spikes. Also remember that you have your teleport and your speed boost abilities, and while I didn't do this initially, I would recommend upgrading your speed boost ability if possible before entering this chapter because it'll help you a lot in the Manor section especially. After you've collected all of the soul shards, you'll be admitted into the Manor where you'll be greeted by none other than Malak in his demon form. Now he's not going to do anything at the moment, usually he appears at the end of the stage, which will happen later on, but for now you need to focus very hard because you have over 300 soul shards to collect in this part of the game. It is very difficult to get these shards unless you find the instructions that I'm about to give you easy. The first thing that I personally did to get past this stage was to open the gates and walk around the maze a bit. This activated the Gold Walkers so that they'd start chasing you. Then I'd immediately leave the maze again and pull the lever to close the door on them. Then I would face my back to the Gold Walkers and make sure they all collect around that one door. Now you might have to rotate around a little bit. I tried rotating around at different angles every 10 or so seconds to give the Gold Walkers enough time to maneuver around the maze and make their way behind me to that door. Keep in mind that there are 4 Gold Walkers and you don't want any of them to not be present at that door before continuing on. So once all 4 of them are at the door, walk backwards while facing them and activate the farthest lever away from the door that they've collected at. Now once you've done this, don't worry because you'll be completely safe, at least from the Gold Walkers, because as long as you face them, you can walk around the map freely without them chasing you. Now this is one big flaw that they have that you can take advantage of, and I highly recommend that you abuse it. Unfortunately, there are a couple of problems with this method, but after a little bit of practicing, trust me when I say that this will make life so much easier for you. The first big thing is that there are more spike traps in the Manor, and one way that I could recommend that you can avoid the spike traps is kind of like in the maze section, and this also applies to the maze section. Keep your ears on alert for the spike trap activation noise and only move around after you've heard the spike traps activate. You'll also know that you'll be safe when you step on a shard because the shards never spawn on a spike trap. Now the only time that I would recommend that you continue moving and try to find a safe space after collecting a shard is in one of the particular rooms of the Manor where there are tons of spike traps that encircle sets of 4 soul shards. If you see this, then please do your best to get somewhere in a safe area in that room. It forms a plus shape and you will be fine. Another thing that you have to be careful of is the swinging axes. Now this is definitely much harder to avoid as you're walking backwards through the maze, but don't fret. Because when the axes are at the lowest point of their swing cycle, they make a grinding sound. And when they make this grinding sound, you will know that the axe has safely gone past the most lethal part of its swing cycle. You'll be able to move past it, and I recommend that you only move as far as you need to because they're usually in sets and you'll want to move carefully in between the safe spaces that exist between these swinging axes. Then you can sit back, relax, and wait for another grinding noise to continue moving. And once again, you can camp the areas where the soul shards form because the swinging axes will never strike the areas where they spawn. Now, besides the fact that you're walking backwards throughout the entire level, there is a problem with this method. And that problem is that you're going to at some point have to reactivate the Gold Watchers in order to either see where you're going or in order to get to the other side of the manor, because they'll be halfway across the manor from where you are positioned. If for this or any other reason you have to take your eyes off the gold walkers, don't worry, because you can just trap them in the same area again, or another thing that I like to do is trap them in either a large room or even better, one of the cornered areas of the maze that loops around. Now if you don't know what I mean by that, it's basically an area that forms a square shape that can only be accessed from two sides, and this design will allow you to hide behind the pillar in the middle of this square shape while you summon the gold walkers and keep them stationary in those positions. Now whether you trap them in a large room or whether you trap them in these tiny pockets, you're going to have to remember, and this will probably be intuitive to you at this point, that you must teleport past them and immediately activate your speed boost to get away from them. And after activating your speed boost and running forwards a bit if you're in a safe area, quickly turn around so that you can stun them in the same spot. Now this method is effective because, as you know, the gold walkers will stand still if you're facing them. And this happens despite the fact that there are walls obstructing the path between you and the gold walkers. And as far as I can tell, this affects the gold walkers in a kind of cone shape in front of the players. So if you've played something like Metal Gear Solid, you'll probably be a little bit better at visualizing this, but if you imagine a vision cone in front of the player's dots, then you'll be able to recognize that if the gold walkers enter this vision cone, they will end up being stuck and they won't be able to move. If you get all four of them in this vision cone, you've pretty much trapped them in a quad lock. And the beauty of all of this is, as you move backwards, that coned area gets larger and larger. So as long as you keep walking backwards, you'll be safe no matter what. They will not move because they register you as looking directly at them, making a slightly easy progression through the manor in chapter 2 as long as you take your time and you are patient. Now that you know these tips, I would highly recommend leaving one soul shard free by the ring altar before collecting the rest of the soul shards, because if that is the last soul shard, you'll be able to quickly do two things. One is that you'll be able to close the door to block all the gold walkers from entering the heart of the stage where you collect the ring parts, and another reason is Malak will spawn there, so you have to run fast to get to that statue. After you've gotten to the statue, you have to exit the manor and then make your way through the labyrinth again. And you have to be absolutely careful. When you enter the labyrinth, aka the maze again, things get pretty darn tricky. There is a huge fog around the area, which makes it difficult to see what's in front of you, and gold walkers will spawn in front of you as you progress through the maze. It's very important that you keep your teleportability off cooldown as much as you can so you can teleport past them when they appear in front of you. And when you finally get to the gate that allows you to escape, there will be a set of gold walkers in front of it, and the easiest thing for you to do will be to teleport to the gate rather than lure the gold walkers away from the gates and then running towards it. For me, the direct path towards this exit gate was with the manor behind me to walk forwards, then turn right, then turn left, and keep going up while opening any gates in front of me while teleporting past any gold walkers. If you exit the manor and turn left instead, you'll be able to access a secret. If you're feeling excited about finally finishing chapter 2, then I would recommend not going there because that will spawn another gold walker and that will just be more stress. Just some extra tips for finishing this that you may have picked up on your own or that you may not have figured out yet. If you need to use your teleports, please do, especially if there's a trap in front of you and there are gold walkers behind you or in front of you. Use your teleport. It has a short cooldown and it gets you from A to B very quickly. If you hear any psst sounds or any laughing sounds, I would recommend immediately triggering your speed boost ability. One of the most annoying things in this game is having a gold walker capture you while you're getting destroyed by a trap, because that will take 2 lives away from you at once. So it's best to keep away from either the traps or the gold walkers as much as you can. I would actually prefer dealing with traps because at least I know they'll stay in one position throughout the entire game. Unless of course you're looking at the gold walkers. Also, at the end of chapter 2, I would only use my speed boost ability if absolutely necessary, because sometimes you can get stuck in very awkward positions and you'd need that to get some ground between yourself and either Malak or the gold walkers, or both of them at once. And if that happens to you, then it's not going to be a very fun time. I found the speed boost ability to be really helpful when running past gold walkers that spawn in front of me. That way they can't immediately snatch me when I walk past them or teleport past them. Prodigies, I hope these tips helped you out, and I wish you luck in beating Dark Deception Chapter 2 as well. And I will leave you with the final cutscene that plays after defeating Dark Deception Chapter 2. Enjoy!
I didn't think you'd make it this far, love. I really didn't. Who knows? You might just go all the way.
If you believe her, you're dumber than you look. Once she gets what she wants, you're done.
Oh, yes. Trust the bloodthirsty demon. No doubt he has your best interests at heart. 6 pieces left. Ready to try again?